Well, hi, folks, and I'm Jim Peacock, and welcome to another Peak Careers interview. Today, we're going to talk about career advice in a quarantine, and this is a new world for all of us. And this is a group of other career coaches that I meet with on a monthly basis, and we were talking about this at our most recent meeting, and I thought we should all get together and do this again. So today I've got 6 career experts from private practice: Linda Arra, Lynn Berger, Paula Brand, Karen Chopra, and Karen Litzinger. And what we're going to talk about today is career advice for people who are quarantined and practicing social distancing. So what do you do? What do we do in this time period? It's unknown, and it's new terrain for many people. We also want to talk about some of the opportunities available to us. And then also, what are some possible coping suggestions that you might have for your own career coaching clients that are out there? And you can also read, I wrote the blog that I have linked here is a blog I wrote on dealing with stress. And this was when I was writing and getting ready for all of this, is really, as I got quarantined and as all of the world came crashing down, I really I was feeling stressful, so I wrote that blog. So take a look at that if you'd like. So today we've got Linda Arra. She's a career counselor who helps people uncover their passions and talents and achieve career success. Lynn Berger is a career counselor and coach specializing in helping people effectively transition to jobs and their careers, balance roles and responsibilities, and understand their choices. Paula Brand is the founder of Brand Career Management, is a global career coach and consultant, LinkedIn expert, speaker, trainer, and facilitator with more than 20 years experience in workforce development, education, human resources, and career counseling. Karen Chopra is the founder of Chopra Consulting for Consultants, which helps therapists, counselors, coaches, and other consultants create thriving businesses. And Karen Litzinger, through her 20-year business, Litzinger Career Consulting, Karen has been helping individuals from high school through retirement be happier and more successful. And I am absolutely thrilled to have all of these folks here. That they are people that I call my friends, even though we rarely see each other face to face, but we see each other on a regular basis here on Zoom. So hold on here. I'm trying to turn this thing off and come back to our group. Here we go. So welcome, everybody. I'd like to get started here today, and let's start off talking about what advice do you have. Most of my audiences are career coaches and career counselors. We're going to talk about how you can help your clients. So what advice do you have for people who are in the process of looking for work during this quarantine time? And we're going to start with Karen Litzinger.
Oh, well, hi, Jim. Well, this came to me when my client emailed me and said, should we actually keep meeting because who's going to network now? And right away I thought about how even over the holidays, clients say, should I be doing this now? And during the holidays, the winter holidays, I'm always saying, really, people may have more downtime and it could be a good time to actually network. And in a way, there are opportunities here because if people are working remotely, you really may be able to reach people more. Some industries more than others will be busy and some will be quieter. So you don't ever want to stop the search, even if it doesn't look good now. And there are things you can do remotely like we are today. And that could even be a chance to build new skills. So that's what I would have people keep in mind who you're working with.
Absolutely. That's great. Great. And then we'll go to Karen Chopra.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm noticing is that all of a sudden, all of us are getting much, much better at doing things online. Zoom has now become a common word. Even my 85-year-old mother is on Zoom these days. And so this is a really good time to help our clients get more comfortable at video interviewing and at recording. We're going to be, if we're seeing our clients, we are seeing them online. And so maybe do a little session with a few practice questions, record that video, send it to the client, play around with them so that they can see where they're looking so that they can maintain eye contact. I have it right here, right? I'm doing this right now. I have a little note that I put behind my computer camera that says, look here. Or sometimes I paste a picture of my kid. And what that does is it reminds me of where the camera is so that I'm making good eye contact. So we can use this time to help expand our clients' skills when they actually do get called for an interview.
Right, because people are they're doing these from a phone or from their laptop, and sometimes what they're doing is they've got it set up so it's way up in here, right? And it's like,
Exactly.
what's going on, right?
Exactly. So you help them, judge what it looks like and what's behind them so that they can clean things up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Great advice. We're going to move to Paula. I got you.
I got
there
you.
You go.
Sorry. Yeah, I think my biggest advice for job seekers and anyone trying to help them would be to take time to do those things that we say we never have time to do. For example, going over your LinkedIn profile, maybe working on a personal branding statement, updating your resume, these types of things that, like I said, take time and reflection, which we often don't have. But right now, I think many of us, not all of us, but many of us have more time than usual. So put that time to good use with your career management.
Awesome. That's great advice. Lynn, hold on. Let me unmute you, Lynn, here. There you go.
Thank you. I'd like to piggyback on what Karen said about this is a good time. And I think it's a really good time to reach out and go into your contacts and the people you really liked that you haven't had time to connect with in a long, long time. And I've really reached out to a couple of people and it's been the most pleasant experience. And it's because we've both have just moved in different directions. But you really can use this time because most people are hunkering down and they'd love to hear from people in their past.
Yeah, awesome. Linda.
So piggybacking on something that Paula said, I would also advocate for people using the time wisely. And one of the things I think that job seekers can do is take this time to really honestly assess their fit for the types of roles that they want to apply for. And that might mean identifying some gaps and then taking this time to do some online training or courses. There are lots more things that are free right now, obviously. But I think it's a great time for people to really assess that fit and try to address whatever gaps they have.
Yeah, I mean, this is time. We suddenly, we're not running to the next meeting and we're not running to the, all over the place. It's a different time. And I think this is also a great time for us to maybe do some of the reading that we want, our professional journal reading that we've got sitting around. I tend to have piles of that sitting around and I keep going, I'll get to that on Friday. But I think using time as proactively as possible is what I just heard, right? Work on your LinkedIn profile, reach out to people in your network. I think that's all great advice. And then I want to ask if there are any other points, but the only other point I wanted to make at this point is the fact that if you are in week 2 of being quarantined, it's probably going to feel and look a lot different than week 4. And I think we don't know. I mean, 5 and 6 and what all the, what it's going to look like for the 6-8 weeks or whatever. So let's just we need to be supportive of each other. So I would say is make sure that you reach out to people that are in your network. That's for us, career coaches and counselors. It's what I do with you folks. And so just make sure that you're just staying in touch with your clients. So any other advice before we move on to another question here? So
the one thing I'll toss out, and was implicit in what a lot of people said, is that we all need schedules. Like job seekers, even when they're working, they need a schedule. They need allocated time when they are doing their job search. And that should not change now. We need a schedule. Get up, do your workout, do your networking, then, go take a walk or whatever. But having, dedicated time each day blocked out on that calendar where we're doing, job search tasks that we can do from home, I think is really critical.
That's a great point.
It's Karen. I was thinking about, with so many people not sure whether they're going to be laid off or not, and so much uncertainty, and I don't know if they'll be contacting coaches now, but just to say, even to work on your resume, just to get things ready. Maybe, hopefully you won't be laid off, but just so that you can be ready if that occurs, or be ready for the upswing of the economy. If people are feeling like, what am I going to do now? There aren't any jobs, but you just want to be ready.
Great points. Yeah. Yeah. Lynn.
I also think it might be easier on people if they adjust their expectations, because I did, speak to a couple of people this week that are either interviewing or working in HR, and things are moving ahead, yet it's going to be slower. And I'd rather people realize that and then call me up and tell me I'm wrong and expect things to take a little longer. I think it would help them feel a little better.
Good point. It's new terrain for everybody, right? I mean, and I think that's the hard part is, but there's some businesses that are saying, we're ready to grow. We're ready to move forward. We're going to have to kind of pause right now, but there's still going to be people hiring. There's no question about it. And I think the advice, that I just heard from you folks is be ready, right? Make sure that you're ready to go and don't stop. Make sure that you're finding a way to continue to move forward a little bit. And it's hard, like last week was hard for me. It was, I was supposed to be in Florida, so it was very hard for me here in Maine to concentrate. And I'd get off task a lot more than I ever did last week. And this week I'm a little bit better, but really it takes me getting into that routine and me going back to my standard to-do list, which is I only do 3 items on my to-do list every day, and I prep it the day before, and I say, these 3 things have got to get done. And it helps me focus, right? And I think that's what we're all looking for, is a little normalcy. All right, I'm going to move on to the next question. We're going to talk about, so what do you see as the opportunities that are out there during this time? And this time we're going to start with Paula.
Thanks, Jim. I think there's a couple different opportunities. I was just listening to our governor in Maryland this morning, and he was talking about a lot of workforce development grants that will be, I don't know if they've actually been approved or they're in the process of being approved, but it sounded like a lot of money was being funneled to keep people working or unemployment, things like that. And so I think having a background in workforce development, I could foresee a lot of funds going through the local offices once people are allowed to go to them. And there could be opportunities for training, retraining, and things like that. So keep that in mind for your clients as a career practitioner. And even as practitioners, there was a lot of mention of small business loans and some grants, some loans to keep small businesses going. And I would say most career practices are small businesses for the most part. So keep an eye on those opportunities to help keep your business afloat or to help your community get involved in your community in some way to help job seekers through these opportunities through the government.
Great. And we're going to move to Lynn. Thoughts and comments on that?
Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of a different bent on that regarding opportunities for our clients. One of the things is, of course, as career counselors, we want to define and help them figure out good fit. That's key. Yet there's so many other occupations and fields that are becoming so visible to us right now. Like if you're watching the news, you're inundated with emergency management, public health, all these things that people might not know about. There's just a whole new world out there of people to expose them. I was sitting with my son, who's a millennial, and we're talking about things, and I said, what'd you ever think of public health? And, I just think it's a good way to begin to expose ourselves and our clients to different occupations. And also, as entrepreneurs, maybe this is a time to start up a new part of your business, etc.
Oh, that's a great point. That's a great point. Linda.
I would say that anytime people are away from work, even if they are working from home, but not in a very normal setting, right? So they're still working in some ways, but it just doesn't feel real. And I think anytime that happens, people start to reflect on what's important to them and whether they're satisfied in their current career. So one of the opportunities I see is for people to just, reflect on that, and for career coaches to realize that I think even if their career coaching practices are a little thin at the moment, I think people are going to start to feel like they want to have those conversations again, either because they're feeling like this time of reflection has given them some thoughts about where they want to go next, or because maybe the work that they were doing before isn't going to exist in exactly the same way. This is really uncharted territory, but I think that career coaches and career counselors are going to be needed even more as we move through this pandemic.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Linda. All right, let's keep going. We're gonna go to the Karens here. We'll start with Karen, and we'll save Karen Chopra for last. But go ahead, Karen Litzinger.
So the opportunity I think about is my working with older clients, and how this opportunity is a chance for them not only to learn new technology, because this whole thing about professional development, I think, really applies to more mature workers. So it's an opportunity for you to learn technology like Zoom and show that, offer that, because a lot of times that's what employers are wondering. You're going to be able to learn new things. And then this ties into what Linda Arra said earlier about professional development. And so this would be that opportunity, not just for yourself, but then you're going to be able to, your clients will be able to use that in their interviews, especially their mature clients.
Great point. Yeah. And Karen.
So the thing that I've been sort of encouraging clients is the anchors are up in the air. Like, there's the way we've always done work, and this is the most massive upheaval in that. And if you let go of the way we've always done it, all of a sudden you start to see, I was talking to a client this week, and he was looking to leave his company because there wasn't a lot of running room left. And all of a sudden this huge crisis has presented all sorts of needs. I'm like, well, would you like to be involved in the company's effort to adjust to this? And he left that call all excited, ready to go talk to his bosses, ready to like leap into the fray. And so the opportunity in this is it's a lot easier right now because nothing's the way it used to be, to sort of say, can I try this? How about I do this? Can I step in and volunteer here? And that includes even volunteering. Normally, I'm a little leery of telling people to volunteer for job seeking because you need to spend your time job seeking, not volunteering. But now would be a lovely time. If you've always wanted to try doing something else, is there a way to help out? Is there a way to do something online? Is there a way to connect people or groups? If you're better at Zoom, can you offer to set a small business up on Zoom? And that might be a small business you're interested in. I'm certainly doing that. This week I'm doing my first COVID careers call. I've always wanted to sort of do like a support call, but in the midst of this crisis, like, this is the time. And so I've just tried something new. So there is some opportunity in the fact that the old way of doing things has just been swept away.
Yeah. Greg Lavoie just wrote a great article in Psychology Today. Greg Lavoie, he wrote Callings, and it came out. It was really about how we learn and we grow from crises. He goes, a lot of times you don't, it's if everything just goes smooth, you don't grow as much. And it's so his whole article is really all about the idea that it's a time to reset and kind of go, just like you just said, Karen, just like, hey, all of a sudden there's an opportunity here. I could go to my boss and help my boss, who's probably freaked out, right? Going, what am I supposed to do here? And then you come to them and say, I can do this. This is what I could do for you, right? That's where the opportunity lies. I mean, I think we have to think about that. The other thing, I saw a great article. It was I think it was pushed out by LinkedIn. It's on LinkedIn, pushed out, I think, by LinkedIn. But they were talking about the industries that are booming, right? Shipping, online, learning. CVS is hiring 50,000. Walmart announced it would hire 150,000 temporary workers. Dollar Tree, who also owns Family Dollar, 25,000 workers. 7-Eleven expects to hire. Amazon, Domino's, the medical community, grocery chains, Lowe's, right? I mean, there's not everybody, there's a lot of places that are holding back and cutting back, but not every place is. And some places are really kind of going, how do we handle this, right? How do I bring in employees but keep 6 feet apart? Keep them, but they're figuring it out, right? Other thoughts or comments from anybody? You can just unmute yourself. And any other thoughts on opportunities here? Yeah, Lynn.
I think your points are great about all this expansion and all these businesses, and someone has to manage the supply chain, and logistics is just going to open up to get all this done.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough times, and the economy is on the screeching halt, but there's still people who are busy.
Yeah, and the point that I'll make is that as career counselors, it is our job to hold hope for our clients, even when we're all really struggling with that. It doesn't help our clients if we go, oh my gosh, this is going to be so terrible. There's no jobs. Nobody's hiring. They need us to see possibilities and opportunities. That doesn't mean that we can guarantee them a job. It just means that we need to say, this is not the time to stick your head under a pillow and ignore what's going on in the world. And they need that from us. That's what we can provide them right now.
I mean, so much of what we do in career counseling and career coaching is provide hope, right? I feel like that's probably the biggest thing that I feel like I do is we help people look at a situation in a different way so that they can kind of go, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way, right? And they see hope, and that's what people want, because we're going to get through this. It's just it's going to be painful for a while in many ways. But we're going to get through this, and it's going to happen. There's going to be an end. And so, as we've said, don't stop getting yourself ready. Don't stop looking for that opportunity. Don't stop, having that routine. Do all that stuff to stay so that you can keep going forward as this thing opens up again.
Can I add one more thing to that?
Yeah.
That's job seekers. One of the things I see are people who are unhappy in their job during these times just want to hang on to their job. And I think it's helpful to let people know you want to be wrapping up. It's what we're talking about in terms of getting ready. But we've been talking about job seekers, but I think people who are unhappy are also folks to be paying attention to say, don't just hang tight safe. Start the process, because if you're changing careers, it might be 6 months till you figure out what it is, and then you're job seeking after that. So earlier the better.
Yeah. So we're going to end on what advice do we have for helping individuals cope with some of this stuff? What are some of the thoughts on how do we help individuals help themselves and to cope with this very abnormal time, as we're moving from an office space to a home space, or actually going and getting laid off or whatever? How do we help people cope? And we'll start with Lynn Berger.
Well, I think one of the first things is everyone has to identify their, quote, grounding activities. For some, it's taking a walk. For some, it might be meditation, cooking, calling a friend, creating a piece of art, whatever it is. But you have to have something to go to when you're feeling the world is spinning around. So I've been trying to identify that and share that with other people. And as long as you have your go-to, you don't have to kind of figure out what you're going to do when you're feeling that way. You kind of have it in place.
Great point. Linda.
I would say that one of the things I always focus on with clients during difficult times is character strengths. And I guess at this point in time, I would ask people to think about what their core character strengths are that will help them be resilient during this time. So if it's humor, or if it's bravery, or maybe it's kindness, you can focus a little bit more on being kind to yourself and others. Is it perspective? Can you pull back and take the long view of how this might turn out? Can you use your critical thinking skills? Whatever those core character strengths are that you have that help you through tough times, to really think about what they are and consciously apply them every day. I think that can really help ground people in a different way.
Awesome. Karen Litzinger.
So I like to focus on gratitude to really help clients think about what can they be grateful for even in difficult times. And it's very perspective taking in terms of, you know, do you have a roof over your head? Do you have a bed that you can be sleeping in tonight? And hopefully they do. And it can be simple things like that. When I've worked with unemployed people and have taught gratitude workshops, many of them said, well, I'm grateful for the time that I have now with my family, or I'm grateful that I can be volunteering or caretaking. So whether it's simply at night writing down 5 things before you go to bed in a journal, or just noticing it each moment when you look around, just for perspective.
That's great. I love it. Gratitude is so important. It changes your focus from the negative to that positive, you know. So Karen Chopra.
Yeah, I'll start with, you know, you find a roll of toilet paper, you can be really grateful these days. You manage to find that. Celebrate these small moments of gratitude. Woo-hoo, toilet paper. That'd be like everyone's top 10 list right now.
Yeah, probably would be.
You know, the end of last week, I was supposed to be at a huge conference for therapists with 3,500 therapists, and of course it was canceled. And then they scrambled and they learned something new as well. They put a basic 2-day conference together online so we could all be together. And everybody sort of retooled their presentations. And the point that all of the presenters focused in on is, we're using the wrong term when we talk about social distancing. And so this is what I would tell people, is this is a time when we need to be physically apart from each other. But this is now the time to be as socially engaged as possible. Get on the phone, get on Zoom, do whatever you need to do to stay connected and reconnect to people, because we are social creatures, and that sense of social isolation can really generate depression. But, you know, I've noticed this week, I spent a lot of time online with people I really care about, like all of you. It makes a hug would be nice, but some face-to-face contact and some real-time interaction makes a huge difference. So make sure you're getting that every day.
I wonder if it's why so many of the young people are still going to the beaches and mobs and going to parties, because the social part is so important to them. I mean, you're right. It's physical distancing. It's not community distancing. It's really physical distancing, 6 feet. That's really what we need, right? And that's a great way of framing that. I love that. Paula.
To wrap it up, I would say, first of all, I agree with everything that everyone has said. They were all on my list of things to say. So I guess to sum it up, I would just say, set up routines, whether it's exercise is still very important. Setting up boundaries. If you have 5 people at home now, when normally you have 1, just set some guidelines of when the TV can be on, or when people can be listening to loud music or things, so that would affect everyone else in the household. And maybe establish some new habits. Lynn mentioned meditation, which I believe in, and I think there's a lot of apps accessible right now, like calm.com and headspace.com. So maybe download an app and use this time to create a new habit for yourself that will help you cope now, but will also stay with you. I started meditating actually when I was going through a very stressful time, and 4 years later, and I'm still doing it. So I think it can be helpful now, but also helpful for your future.
Yeah. Great points, folks. Yeah. Great points. You know, like, one of the things that I've changed to your point about starting some new habits is I've decided I have part of my routine in the morning is to go for a walk before breakfast. That way I get my walk in, and it calms me, right? I try not to listen to public radio and listen to the news. I have some meditation tapes I'll listen to, but a lot of times I'll just walk and just listen to the, I'm in the woods. I'm out, I've got a nice quiet neighborhood, but I also start every day reading like 15 minutes in a professional book. I never used to do that, but I felt like I need to force myself to slow down. I need to force my brain to look at this in a different way. And so every day I'm starting off and I read for 10 minutes. That's all, just, I don't know, whatever it is, 10, 15 pages in a book that, and then as opposed to just like jumping onto my computer and starting to go, I really purposefully have said, slow down. And I think that's been one of the things that I've tried. Are there any other final thoughts before we say goodbye here on any of these? Anybody?
I'd like to
Karen.
piggyback on what Paula said in relation to meditation. I think just to put out there, of course, spiritual overall, whatever your background, whatever your tradition is, philosophical reading, spiritual reading, meditation, whatever speaks to you. And I know that actually I don't do the professional reading in the morning, but I begin each morning with a prayer and a reading. So it can be different for everybody.
Yeah.
I'd like to, go ahead.
Go ahead, Linda, and then we'll go to Lynn.
Jumping off of something you said, Jim, with professional reading, I think for career practitioners, this is a great time, if you're credentialed in any way, to go back and take a look at your credentialing standings for this year. And if you're not up to date with your CEs, your CEUs, now's the time to go online because you probably have a little bit of extra time and get that behind you.
Yeah, Lynn.
I'll just piggyback on that, Linda. They said that the CEUs for licensed mental health counselors, they're not extending the time, but they're letting people do them that had to be in person now online. So that is perfect.
Great.
And I'd like to just add one more thought I had, which is journaling. Sometimes, like you, Jim, you said you read for 10 minutes in the morning. Sometimes I will just set the timer and journal for 10 minutes. And I think that can be helpful for job seekers and career practitioners. And again, it's kind of establishing a routine or a new habit that can be helpful in the future. And it can also help you process what's going on.
Yeah, I try to journal every day, and that's exactly what happens for me. And it's one of the reasons I blog too, is it forces me to get my thoughts organized. It helps me work stuff through, and pretty much I encourage all my career clients to start a career journal and begin to capture that stuff. Otherwise, it's like a thought here and a thought there. Get it into one place so that you can begin to look at it. Well, listen, I want to wrap this up. This has been awesome, and part of me wants to keep on cruising here, but I'm gonna have to say goodbye at some point. Trying to keep these to 20 to 30 minutes long. I have no idea how long we've been going, but it's been very interesting, and for me, it's been very helpful. So I'm Jim Peacock. I'm the principal at Peak Careers Consulting. I offer facilitating career development class. I also have a number of online discussion-based seminars. So as Linda said, a lot of people are looking for online. I've got a number of online seminars. They're very different. They're not independent studies. I do them with other like-minded career practitioners. So I typically will run these with 5 to 10 people. I keep the size limited to 10 so that everybody gets time to talk. We have a number of different topics. Each week we come up with new readings or videos to watch, and then we discuss those throughout the week. We also do workshops, individual career coaching, and I have a book, Field Guide for Career Practitioners. If you are a career practitioner, anyone who delivers career services, feel free to sign up for the top 10 tips of working with an undecided person, and sign up for my weekly career emails for career practitioners. And you can find me and connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and Instagram. And there's my website. And thank you all very much for coming today. I really appreciate you folks taking the time. You're all on mute, so you can unmute yourself and say any final words, but thank you. Thank you all very much for taking the time.
Thank you.
It's been a joy being with all of you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity of having us on today.
All right.